square and a semicircle on top of that. And we want the total area to be 200 square feet. Okay? So the area is going to consist of the square plus the semicircle, right? Going to add up to 200. So what's the area of the square?
X squared.
X squared. And then the area of the semicircle will be 1/2 pi radius squared. Would you agree with that? So our radius, keep in mind the diameter is x, so the radius is 1/2 x, or x over 2. And we'll square that in our formula. Alright, so I've got x squared plus, okay, that's going to be 1/4, 1/8 pi x squared. That look okay? And now I need to solve that. Now, it is a quadratic equation, so you could solve it with the quadratic formula, but recognize that your b term would be 0, right? So I think, since I don't have a b term, I'd rather just solve this by factoring out the x squared. This is me personally, you can do it however you want. So I'm going to factor out the x squared and then divide. And then square root. Now plus or minus, because obviously x can't be negative, so just square root. So if I type that in on my calculator, I get 11.984. And was that the question? Or in the width of the window? Yeah, so 11.984 feet. That okay with everybody? Or anybody have another one? Anything else? Parker?
On P7, number 4.
P7. Number 4. So this is our, let's make a box problem. And the paper is 24 by 32. And we want the volume to be 1520. So the first thing we have to do is write an expression for the volume. So what will the volume be? Well, what will the length of the box be? Not the paper. The paper's 32. But what will the length of the box be? 32 minus 2x. And the width of the box will be 24 minus 2x. And the height of the box is x. And I want that to be 1520. Right? What size corners would be over the volume of that? So I'm going to put that in. Now I understand that my x's, I can graph whatever I want, but understand that your x's have to be between 0 and 12. So any other answer that you see or that you get will not be counted. You have to be between 0 and 12. All right, let's put in my new equation. So I got these 2 points, my volume will be 1520. All right, you with me, Parker?
Mhm.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and find those 2 points. Looks like my first one is 3.793. And my second one is 5.298. So the first question is, what size corners will yield that volume? Well, 3.793 inches and 5.298 inches. What size corners would yield a box with a volume no more than 1520? So here's where it's 1520. So no more than would be from 0 to that number. And from that number to the end of the problem, which is when x is 12. X is 12. Here x is 0. Here x is 12. So that would be, the question was no more than. So 0, 3.793, or 5.298. Now, I am okay with a bracket or a parentheses on the 0 and 12. I think we talked about that, maybe we didn't. Clearly, if x is 0, you satisfy the conditions of the problem, but it doesn't really make sense in the problem because if x was 0, you wouldn't have a box. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave those open, but if you close those, I would have marked that wrong. These do need to be closed though because it's no more than, which means it can equal that. And then the last question says, yield a volume less than 1520. Well, I think that was a typo on my part, but since that's what it says, less than would just be this answer with these being bracketed, parentheses, right? Okay, who else has a question about a homework problem that you've gotten back? Yep, P7 what?
On the front side.
Oh, D1D?
Yes.
All right, so P7, going to be solved, no calculator. Okay, it's a quadratic inequality. Don't square root it. Square rooting both sides is a property of equality. You're allowed to do that in an equation, not an inequality. So with an inequality, you gotta get it set equal to 0. And then if it were me, I would just factor it. You could also complete the square, use the quadratic formula or whatever. But I would factor it. 2 dots on the number line, open dots. And then I have to figure out where to shade. Now, I know because we did a whole bunch of these over my life anyway. I've done a whole bunch. I know that when there are 2 dots, I'm going to shade between them or outside of them, and then greater than, it's always going to be outside of them. But if I'm doing a sign chart, which is the proper steps, I'm going to pick a number over here like -4. -4 would make that negative, and it would make that negative, and sure enough, when I multiply a negative times a negative, it's a positive. So I'm going to shade this in. And then I'll try 0. 0 gives me a positive times a negative. That is not positive, so I'm not going to shade that. 4 gives me a positive and a positive, so I will shade that. So negative infinity to -3, or 3 to infinity would be my answer.
Can you do 4A on P1?
P1, 4A is an exponent problem. So first of all, let me rewrite this guy just so I can see that this is the fraction that I have. X is on top. So this is the fraction that I have. So the negative is gonna flip that. And then I'm gonna cube everything. So 64 negative 27 x cubed, because when you cube a negative, it's negative. And there we go.
P7, number 1, problem C.
P71C is another inequality like this one, except this one's a cube. Move that 9x squared over. So I can take out a GCF. And then I have a quadratic, just like the problem I just erased here. So I'm gonna factor that guy. I think it looks like it's going to factor. Yeah. And then I go to my number line. This time though, because there are 3 x's in the problem, I'm going to have 3 dots, 3 zeros. And they will be at 0, at 1/4, and at 2. Now I'll pick a negative number, and if I pick a negative number, all 3 of my factors will be negative. That will be negative, that will be negative, and that will be negative. So when I multiply them together, I get negative. That's what I want. So I'm going to shade out here. Now you know what's going to happen because you've done a lot of these problems too. You know we're going to alternate our shading. But if I have to show my work, okay, so I'm going to pick a number like 1/8. That would give me a positive, a negative, and a negative. And that's going to multiply not to the negative, so I'm not going to shade there. And I'll put 1 in, positive, positive, negative, that works. And then 3 gives me a positive, that doesn't work. So negative infinity to 0, and 1/4 to 2. Okay? All right, what else? Anything else from the homeworks? All right, so now I'm going to hand back your quizzes. What?
I have a question about doing that. Where do you get the minus and the plus? Like, do you take it from?
Putting a number in. So like if I put in the number 1, that's positive, that's positive, that's negative. So that region would be negative, which is what I want. That's why it's shaded in. Okay. Okay. So my hope was everyone was supposed to have the same as you don't. So I need you to go over and sit in Mr. Meyer's class. Your phone's in the door, right? Just sit over there with that. Listen to what he's doing. I'll be collecting these back up. I want you to look at them. Okay, so when you get your paper, we have 1 heart quizzes, 2 heart quizzes, and 3 heart quizzes. So when you get your quiz back, I want you to find, and if you have a question, find somebody that's got your quiz so you can go over it with that person. Okay? Okay, so 1 heart, 2 heart, 3 heart. a perfect 3 heart. If you have a question, you can come see her. Somebody had a perfect 2 heart back there. Who has that? Okay, there's a 2 heart perfect. Who had a perfect 1 heart? Right here. Alright, so there's your perfect papers. If you want to go seek them out, figure out what you will. Alright, come on now. Use this time to find somebody that can straighten you out.
Number 5. You probably turn it down.
She wrote that. What I needed Yeah.
So I guess it wasn't air. I thought it was
Yeah, I have very good. Oh, yeah.
You can book it if you want.
Now you're wondering how there was a bonus point on this. I gave you credit. You got all 3 of the properties right. You got a bonus point. So that's how that worked. I didn't feel right about having the properties count the same as the problem, so I made one of them worth a bonus. Any one of them. I think I started over. Take a couple more minutes to get that sorted out. Coming around to pick up the quizzes, I need you to get out your review sheet so you can continue with that. We will start with any question you had about the review sheet. Did anybody look ahead to it? I didn't assign it, so it's okay if you didn't. But if you did, I want to get that part.
Oh. I don't know. I just got
It's a big deal. All right, anybody look at it? No?
What's the score
What?
The formula we use for number four.
Yeah, I think we're ready for number 4, so we'll just do number 4. So that should be in your notes, sweetheart, make sure you are using your notes. Your projectile motion formula is this. And we can then write a specific, as a general formula, we can write a specific equation for this situation. Our initial velocity is 100, and our initial height is 24. Oh wait, I forgot my other terms. Okay. So what's the question? This is number 4 on the review sheet. When will the height above the ground, actually I want that open because it's got the airplane out there. When will the height above the ground be at least 50 feet? So if you think about this situation, here's 24, here's 50. The object is starting here, it's going up, and we want to know when is it at least 50 feet. Right? So we could do this problem by hand. Right? How would I go about doing it by hand? I can also do it on my calculator, but how would I do this by hand? I would let the height, this is the height. I would let the height be 50. If I'm doing this by hand, let the height be 50. Set this quadratic equal to 0. And then solve it using some method, right? The quadratic formula, computing the square, something. These are awful numbers, you're gonna get some crazy radicals, but it could be done by hand. It can also be done on our calculators. So let's see, if we're doing it on our calculator, we could leave it like this and use intersections. Or we can leave it like this and do zeros. Whatever flips your switch. So let's see what you can come up with. Now, I don't know if I talked about this. I know that T is there. Please use X on your calculator. If you try to use T, things are going to be crazy. So we're using X on our calculator. Caroline?
This board, I think is factored.
Oh, well, that would be absolutely magnificent. Hang on to that thought. I am going to go ahead and type this in, but hang on to that. That would be awesome if it would. That would be the fastest way to do it for sure. Let's see if you're right, Joe. I don't know. Maybe Charlie, let's just back up, and how did you think this thing factored?
So I divided it by -1, and then I did 16 T, what was it? -4, and then -6. Because 16 times 6 is 96, plus 4 is
But 6 and 4 makes 24, not 26.
Oh, that's where I messed up. Oh,
I think
oh,
it still
right.
works. If you do 26 is 1 and then 4 and 4. Like,
Okay, 4 and 4.
No, I'm wrong. Never mind.
like, because 25 times 4 is 100, so if you have,
4 and 4. And 26 and 1.
yeah. I don't see what. Or wait, no, because it would make it negative 26 somewhere. It doesn't quite work.
Violet, it's never gonna work, you're never gonna have a factor like this unless the whole thing's divisible by 2. So as soon as you pop that up there, I knew this wasn't gonna work, because that would mean you could take a 2 out and you can't. Actually, you can take a 2 out. Well, so maybe, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that so fast. So what's 26 times 4 negative? Yeah, that
It doesn't quite work, the negatives get off, but.
So I don't think it factors, but if it does, go ahead. Go ahead, if it does. When is the ball at least 50 feet above the ground? Wouldn't that be all of this area right here? So the answer to that question would be 0.272 to 5.978. Everything in between and including those 2 points. When will the ball hit the ground? That's right there, right? If the ball's hitting the ground, then we don't wanna set this thing equal to 50, we wanna set it equal to 0. So our equation for that, or B, will be negative 16t squared plus 100t plus 24 equals 0. Now, Charlie, I can use the 24.
Yeah.
So you thought that factored?
Okay, maybe that one doesn't factor.
I don't know. Let's look at it and see. I'm gonna divide everything by -4, so I can look at a little bit smaller numbers. Doesn't look promising. If that were plus, maybe it would.
Yeah.
Alright, so here we go. I could use my calculator again, or I could use the quadratic formula, right? Either one, doesn't matter. So if I use my calculator, I type in, actually just to do it at 50. When does it hit the ground? It looks like about 6.481 seconds. Anybody else get that? So that's not an arrow, that is at 6.481 seconds. Alright, we'll just keep forging ahead. Given this and this, write the equation of the perpendicular bisector of line AB. So, I want the perpendicular bisector. So here's A and B. And I want that guy right there, the perpendicular bisector. Okay, so what do you think? What would be a good way to start?
I was
find the slope of the given line. So the slope of AB is 6 minus 4 over negative 2 minus 8. 6 minus 4, negative 2 minus 8. Did you get negative 1/5? So what does that mean about the line I'm looking for? It would be 5. So my perpendicular slope is going to be 5. Okay. What else do I need? Midpoint, because you're going to bisect, you're going to cut in half. So the midpoint is the average. So negative 2 and 8 is 6 divided by 2 is 3. 6 and 4 is 10 divided by 2 is 5. Does that look okay? So y minus 5, that 5 equals that 5 times x minus 3. And there's the point slope formula. Okay, what's your job? Ask questions, right? You have them? You good? All right, find the answer of the line through negative 112 and 5n has a slope of negative 3/11. All right, we've seen that problem before. All right, so here we go. What do you think?
You set up like n minus 12 over 5 plus 1 equals negative 3/11.
Perfect. So we did the slope, n minus 12, 5 minus negative 1. This, by the way, is 6. So 11n minus, is that 132?
134 or 132.
Equals negative 18.
Yeah.
So 11n equals 114. So n is 114 over 11. All right, there's one more on this page, so we'll finish this page and then you'll be on your own there. Find the coordinates of Q. So P is negative 8,4. Q I do not know, but the midpoint is 1/5 comma negative 7. All right, what do you think? Charlie?
We'll like kind of set up the midpoint formula, but like do it backwards. So like we'll have y plus 4. Yeah. Over 2 equals negative 7.
Okay, that's gonna give me my y, okay, and then,
And then we'll have x minus 8 over 2 equals 1.
yep. So it looks like this one's gonna be, y is gonna be negative 18. And this one, is that gonna be 42/5? Keep an eye on my arithmetic here. Is that okay? Alright, then. You have 15 minutes, the rest of the period, to look through the sheet and with each other, answers